This light is way too freaking bright for how early / late it is. Last time I looked at the clock, it was like 1:37 a.m. I woke up from a weird dream that I was in this unfamiliar house. It almost gave me like a grandma, like a modern grandma's house type vibes. And I think that's mainly because there was a shit ton of other people, but I assume they were family members, but none of them looked familiar. And truthfully speaking, I didn't perceive a lot of them. Like, I just knew they were there. And I was a kid. I was younger, significantly younger than I am right now. And I was running around with the other kids, and there were a lot. I feel like the kids outnumbered the adults. But yeah, at one point, there is another little girl who seems more similar to my age, and she is just talking all this gab. And it seemed to me in the dream like she was trying to give off the air that she was like smarter than me, and that's why she was doing all this. But I was not really responding to her at all. But she was insistent on just, like, so much so that I was just tuning it out. And it was just talk, 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 talk. It was just so annoying. But I really wasn't entertaining it at all. In this living room area, I guess we constructed a tower of some sort out of like plastic bins. I don't know. I didn't witness the construction, but I know it was there, and we would periodically climb on top of it and just like lay on our bellies and look at the scenery. So yeah, I'm on top of the tower, just chilling, straight chilling, just minding my own business. And this little girl comes back and she's laying on her stomach next to me, talking. And again, at first I was just, there are people walking upstairs. Okay. Yeah, so girl's sitting there, talking. And then I literally don't even know what she said because it was just so much BS being like spewed in my direction. But she said something that was undoubtedly intentionally said to get under my skin or try and get under my nerves. And I immediately picked up on that. My kid self in the dream immediately picked up on it. And I guess in some sort of retaliation, I like tried to like sort of push her. Like, I didn't push her really. It was like between a push and a flick. Like that's how almost, like, there was barely any force behind this gesture. And my intention was that she would get a little off balance, you know, because we're on this semi-high structure that we've built. You know, she would get a little off balance and it would instill the fear of God or whatever, fear of the universe, I don't know, fear. And she would just leave me alone. Literally without saying anything. I'm just like, you know, hoping that, you know, she would get a little, ooh. But for some reason, this bitch went flying. She literally toppled off the thing, and I genuinely felt bad because in the dream, I genuinely felt bad because that wasn't my intention at all, and I'm just not a person who enjoys hurting people. Like, I felt bad that because the way she fell on like more plastic bins that were on the floor that I guess were helping us get onto the structure that we had built. And the plastic bins were like right beside this old ass blocky TV that was in one of those wooden TV stands that the TV literally sits in. I don't know if this is making sense. Her back, like, she practically fell like head first. If this is her head, you know, this is her back. She like fell at least against that TV and between the TV and the bins. It just looked like a rough fall. Okay, it was not a pleasant fall. It literally looked like she was yeeted. But I swear, I gave like the littlest pressure. And adults in the dream appeared. And again, I didn't really perceive them. It was almost like that Charlie Brown effect where they were there, but they weren't. Like, I just knew they were there. And honestly, I expected her to rat me out. Like, I expected her to milk it, you know? And to my surprise, she didn't. She stood up as if nothing was wrong. She didn't even cry. So the adult in present just left or disappeared. I don't know. So then it was just us again. And this bitch goes back to her yapping. Yeah, so at this point I'm like, girl, what's your problem with me? I didn't say that, but I don't know. I just stood there, let her yap. I forgot to mention that when she appeared earlier in the dream, I don't know why, but I knew that my mother and her had a problem. I don't know what happened, but my mom didn't like her. Something happened between her and my mom. So during that last exchange, after this bitch has literally fallen on her ass, not literally, but kind of, you know, she's still yapping. I guess she was just so prideful that she couldn't show that, you know, she was hurt or something. I don't know. Yeah, so she's doing all this, and at some point, she starts bringing up the situation or whatever between her and my mom. And I stopped her, my kid self. I was like, hey, I already know you and my mom have whatever you guys got going on, but that's between you and my mom. This has nothing to do with me. And that's pretty much where the dream ended. It made me want to look up the meanings of my previous two dreams. Oh, I completely missed the part, right? So in the beginning, before this bitch arrives, and it was just me and the kids running amok, you know, wreaking havoc. But it wasn't like wreaking havoc. It just seemed like we were just left to our own devices. We were just free roaming. Obviously, we built a fucking tower out of plastic bins or whatever, and the parents, the adults in the situation, were doing nothing about it. But before all that, at some point, I was sitting on this potty that was like in the middle of the kitchen. I'm pretty sure it was in the middle of the kitchen because it wasn't a bathroom, but I was definitely sitting on the toilet in one of the areas that me and the kids were just zooming around, congregating. But yeah, I was sitting on this potty and I had to pee, so I peed, but then my bladder immediately filled back up. Like, I felt it internally in my bladder that I had to, you know, that it was full again. So I would pee. And then it just kept happening that it would just instantly fill up with more pee. Like, they were like queued bladders just emptying themselves. I don't know if that makes sense. And I'm pretty sure there was like another child sitting beside or standing beside me while I'm sitting on this thing. And I assumed that they were waiting to use the potty, but I was genuinely peeing. So, you know, it's not like I was just sitting on the pot and not peeing. I was peeing. And this happened like at least a minimum of 7 times. A minimum of 7 times of me emptying this bladder, it immediately filling back up again. And I was literally like, you know how you can feel your bladder and like press on it when it's like really full and you feel it like externally? You know what I mean? Like you can feel it with your hand. That's what I was doing in the dream, because I'm like, is it full again? Luckily, I did not pee in real life. Luckily, I did not pee in real life. But that's what brought me to not my recent, well, yeah, not my recent 2 dreams, but the dream before the last dream. I was in some hotel-ish thing. It sort of looked like a log cabin hotel, kind of run down, but I was there with like my mom, my aunt, and my sister. I'm not sure of their significance. I'm still trying to figure out why they were there. But I was in the bathroom, on the toilet, a real toilet this time, in an actual bathroom. And this musician slash YouTuber that I have not watched or listened to and I don't know how long was in the bathroom with me, this female. And while I'm literally on the toilet shitting, she starts kissing me and she's completely naked. And me being me, I was like, oh, yeah. I was very open to it. I'm attracted to females. Not only, but side note, I also saw this like snippet of, it was like some TikTok or YouTube reel. This woman making out with a guy as she was washing his hair, you know, one of those salon chairs. So she's like standing over him with her hair. This is his head with shampoo, and she's massaging the shampoo, but also just like, but yeah, so it was sort of that sort of scene. But even though I was clearly in the middle of something, I was obviously into it. I wasn't just gonna let this moment pass. I was feeling all of it and having thoughts simultaneously, but I'm also on the toilet shitting, and I'm not really perceiving the shit coming out of my ass, but I know that I'm not done. So yeah, at some point I finish and I stand up from the toilet, obviously, because that's what you do. And there's literally like a mountain. I cannot stress this enough. It was literally like a mountain of shit. It was like if my insides were represented by equal volume in shit, that's what it looked like. Just in the toilet bowl. It was literally on, you know, the dry part of the toilet. This is the seat, right? This is the top of the seat where your legs are. And you know that the dry part of the bowl in front that is not where the water is, all of that was covered in shit. So yeah, like I get up and I'm looking and she's looking and I'm like, yeah, okay, we're just gonna flush that, close the toilet seat, we're just not gonna acknowledge that, let's go back to what we were doing. So the dream goes on and other random stuff happens. All the other details are useless. Pretty much there was a common theme of having way a lot of shit, a mountain of shit, and the fountain of pee. I don't know, just all of this backed up internal byproduct. I don't know. So I started doing some research, and of course, as I sort of assumed, the first few things that came up were talking about releasing and letting go of old stuff, old emotions type thing, which makes sense. Purging, purification, things of that stuff. So I was like, okay, yeah. On one of the sites that I was reading specifically about the poop, there were some really good quotes that I took a note of. One of them that I do remember, one of the quotes was, to let shit go, you gotta let it out. That's profound. Oh yes, particularly, yes. Okay, here we are, we're on to something. So particularly in connection, strangely, to the little girl. She reminded me of one of my parental figures, the male one. That was the only person that I could sort of apply this archetypal energy, this person, this little girl, to. Because I do find that, like, so many times I just feel like they just want to talk. Like, and they just want to have an opinion just so they can talk. Just so they can. In the past, it would make me question if my logic was off. They tended to be quite manipulative. But in this dream, I was like totally on to the bullshit. Like, so much to the point that I was just tuning it out. And that is pretty much almost mirroring the present and interacting with this particular parental figure. Okay. I was trying to remember how that connected to the conjunction of shitting a mountain. So that quote, in order to let shit go, you gotta let shit out, right? This particular person has consistently stated things about how the past, you just brush it over, blah, 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 it's already done, there's nothing you can do about it, da, 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 da. There's no reason to sort of rehash it, pretty much. On multiple occasions, I have tried to readdress, sketchy things, more than sketchy, just not great things that have happened in our interactions, and express how their actions have caused a chain reaction, and impacted my thinking in the past and things of that nature. And it was always projected back on me, like I was the problem. And I mean, both of my parents are very different people than who they were, The dialogues we have now are very, very different. In some ways, I can talk about certain things that happened and get a different perspective from them than you don't know how you were back then. That's the big thing. You don't know how you were back then. Okay, anywho, this particular caregiver, parental figure seemed to fall into the category where they would rather sweep it under or just completely ignore it and just sort of move on without addressing it. And of course, when you do that, really all you're doing is sweeping it under the rug. And you can only sweep it under the rug for so long. Sweep all these fucking things under the rug until you can no longer fucking walk on the rug. Like, there's a mound of something under that rug, and it's undeniable. I'm pretty sure there's like a SpongeBob episode that there's definitely some SpongeBob episode with something under a rug. I'm pretty sure it's like a donut, so maybe it's not a mound. But anyways, honestly though, the more I think about it in terms of how this little girl connects to him, it just continues to make more and more sense. Even the fact that she's a child, but she seems very prideful. Like, she just seemed so prideful, and she's just doing all this gab to clearly make me feel less than. But it wasn't really working. It wasn't working at all. Even when she said whatever she said to clearly get under my skin, I just picked it up and again did my little boop. Boop, sent her flying, which was not my intention. But yeah, sometimes when I am the recipient of this actual person, parent, yapping and trying to sound smart, and I don't mean trying to sound smart, but that is how it feels to me. Because it seems like they always have to play devil's advocate, even when it doesn't make sense. Like, they always have to take the other stance just so they have something to gab about. You can never just agree or agree to disagree. Even when I've tried to just shut the conversation down because I'm like, this is getting exhausting and it's such a useless conversation that I don't understand why you're putting so much energy into this right now. They would refuse and just keep talking. Yes, it definitely did give me this almost very childish, like a child seeking attention. It's almost like in the adverse, this is a completely different scenario, obviously, but almost in the same way, it seems like very old, lonely people just start shit. Like, I worked at Yankee for a little, and there was this woman who would just call the store and act like she had a problem with somebody. But it seemed like, again, she just wanted to talk. She just wanted to talk to somebody. Maybe people like her don't really have immediate people to reach out to. She somehow wormed her way into calling Yankee and starting shit, and that's how she got some sort of interaction. And that's sort of how it feels when I talk to this parent sometimes. It seems like they just want to talk and they just want to be heard. Sometimes I entertain it, but I'm very much in a point in my life where I'm learning how to assert boundaries, you know? I very much was a person who I would just be that sounding board for everybody. But yeah, so I'm sort of done always being that sounding board, especially because I'm still a human person, and it does get exhausting to just sit there and stand and listen to gab and useless bleh. It can get exhausting. But then again, that part of me, there's a part of me that recognizes that they probably just want to talk. Maybe they're feeling lonely, you know, maybe they want to connect with me and they don't know. You know, maybe he wants to connect, you know, and he just wants to connect with me. It makes me feel a little sad inside, you know, that I don't always want to talk, or that I would just rather not, you know. And it seems like he's reaching out in the only way that he knows how, just like Miss Geraldine calling Yankee. But again, at the same time, again, establishing the boundary. This is getting way convoluted, but yeah, I think that sort of sums it up. This does make me feel a little bit sad though, because it makes me want to give them the time of day. And honestly, I think a lot about these times and these interactions. Even though it can be exhausting sometimes, I do love them, you know, and I do appreciate the goofy energy that they bring. A lot of the times they're very animated and very funny. But yeah, I know that someday they will be gone, like all of us. So I don't want to take these times for granted either, if that makes sense. And maybe that's why I didn't walk away in the dream, because all the times where this little girl was gabbing at me, I was just standing there, not really listening, but I was still present. You know, I was present there. Again, just being a sounding board, apparently. But yeah, so that was my dream, and the dream before the dream today. I'm a little bit worried that my camera's gonna cop out before I get to like a point. So I think I'm gonna wrap it up here. I do like talking about my dreams though, so I probably will continue this. Actually, I think this was a really good session. I didn't figure out everything, obviously, because I was trying to keep it short. I didn't want to like do all the details because I felt like it was just gonna get way too convoluted. And plus, I can figure all that out on my own. But yeah, I don't know if you've been having dreams about shitting or peeing in copious amounts recently, but if you are, you probably need to or are in the process of letting some shit go, which is good. I feel like this is a good sign. But on that note, I really do like hearing about other people's dreams. So if you feel so inclined and you actually remember your dreams, please put them down in the comments or whatever, because I will read them. I actually am very, very interested in dreams. I have like 2 dream books, dream interpretation books. I have over 2-3 years worth of dream logs. So yeah, if you want to leave your recent dreams down, please do. They don't have to be about piss and shit. They can be about anything. And yeah, maybe we can decipher these things together. But yeah, on that note, I heard person in question roaming around earlier, so I might see if they're still up and touch bases, just because Now my heartstrings are sort of feeling stuff. So yeah, and I also have to pee. So I think that's like the general gauge of like, okay, video's over, I have to pee. So here we are. Thank you if you listened this far, because I feel like this is a very long video. Happy dreaming whenever you go to sleep. And if you do have a dream, try and write it down. Or not. I don't know. It's your life. It's your decision. I don't know what time it is, but it's probably like 2 a.m. Alright, I have to pee, so I'm gonna go. Good night, good morning, good evening, goodbye.